It is time. I call tonight's meeting of the North Highlands Recreation and Park District, January 14th meeting. Good evening, everybody. First thing on the agenda is the approval of last month's meetings, or minutes, not meetings, minutes. I didn't have anything. I couldn't even find the typo error.
I make a motion. I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Hey, any other discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
I guess the way we should probably do is and do a thumbs up. So that way I can see everybody, you know, if we're good. So, okay. 3 on the list, chairperson's report. Well, couple things. I'm not going to go too in depth. The first one is hope everybody had nice holidays. It looks like everyone was safe because we're all here. I've already thanked, I'm sure you guys have saw what the great staff that Larry has, what they did to that on that medical issue on that little 16-year-old child. I'll bring it up again because I can. It was a wonderful thing. You just never know with CPR. That's why when I taught it down at the academy, we might know how to do it at our workplace, but most of the time we use it at home, you know, amongst people that we know of. This just happened to be one of those ones where it worked out perfect. And I want to give to Rachel, Sarah, Scott, and Rodney, thank you again for being there, for being those people that stepped up to the plate and helped that young man to, last I heard he was okay. You know, Sarah, do you know any more? I mean, he's out of the hospital and doing fine, or?
From what I understand, he was supposed to be released from the hospital the first Friday and the last Friday. But I haven't heard anything beyond that. Rachel ended up talking to one of the neighbors and said that, you know, they weren't very forthcoming with a lot of information, obviously, which is to be expected, but it sounds like he's okay. So
Hey, that's all we can ask for.
absolutely.
You know,
And the AED did its job. So I appreciate Larry giving us the A-OK and letting us purchase those things because it did perform a shock, which got the process started. So that was
good. Any other fellow board members have anything? Alan.
I just kind of have a question. I noticed on here we have John B. Who's John B?
He's a member of the public.
Oh, I thought we were only taking questions in advance. I didn't know we were having people from the public come on.
Yeah,
Did that
they
change, Larry?
No, they still have to ask the questions, but they can still actively
Okay.
log on and watch the meeting.
Okay, that's fine.
Bo, did you have some? I thought your green light came on like you were saying something.
No, I didn't. But since Alan mentioned that, Larry, are we breaking for is the budget portion of this meeting? Is it open to the public as well?
It is.
Okay, great. Thank you. It may be good since we've got some community members on to talk about how we handle how we communicate during the Zoom call. Are there, you know, any? I know we worked on internally. We've worked on what's the process for receiving information, having people ask questions, things of that nature. Could someone briefly let the public know what that is?
Sure. First of all, I wanted to just point out that as the board is aware, there's a staff report on tonight's agenda that addresses virtual meetings, including the Zoom. And I actually have an update on that when the item comes up that was not included in the report because it just came in today. But in response to your comments, Bo, or your question, many districts, all government agencies since COVID, with a few exceptions when there was a change in the protocols, could no longer hold public meetings with the staff and with the board members and the public in person. So we have our district, as others have, are utilizing the Zoom, virtual Zoom meeting platform as opposed to meeting in person. The Brown Act was adjusted last March when COVID came about. They made some temporary changes to accommodate virtual meetings because at that time they were relatively unheard of. But so for our meeting, we allow the public to participate. Now that may change after tonight or future board meetings, but the public can log on to the meeting. They can observe. They can hear the discussion. And if they had any questions, it's in the agenda. It states very clearly and on our website that if they submit questions prior to 3 o'clock the day of the board meeting, those questions will be shared with the board chair. If it's an item on the agenda, they'll be discussed when that item comes up. Or if it's not on the agenda, it could be discussed for under comments from citizens and organizations. So as of tonight, we are still using that process where the public can certainly observe, and if they have questions, they had to submit them by 3 o'clock, and we'll see where we go from there.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else?
Happy New Year's to everyone. Excited about this 2021, what's to come, and making some progress and enhancing our amazing district. Thank you.
All right, since we have nothing else, 5 reports from standing. We don't have any of those yet, so we'll move on down to 6. The administrator's report, Larry.
My reports are the staff reports that are found in the board agenda. I'll address those when they come up.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry. The first one should have been Scott, his maintenance. I'm sorry.
We have the recreation and the maintenance reports.
Right. Scott.
Just one thing that did not make it into my written report. Back in March, when we were forced to close down, we had several projects in the works, several large projects, one of a bit of a smaller project that we've just recently revisited. The swing set at Carl Rosario Park is kind of woefully out of date and inadequate. It's got one swing where it's capable of holding 4 swings. So we have purchased new chains, new buckets, new pads, and delivery will take place somewhere the first week in February. And we will handle the installation of the new swings in-house with our facility maintenance supervisor and our maintenance team. So just wanted to bring that up. One thing I wasn't able to include in my written report. That's all I had, unless there are questions.
You know me, Scott. I always have questions for you. Just looking on that Prop 68 grants that we're working on for the sign, and I noticed in both of them we talked about we sent it out for estimates. How many estimates? I know the state you have to have a minimum of 3 estimates. How many do we need as a special district? Or can the 2 that you have be sufficient and we pick from there?
I think it really, I might have to defer to Larry on this one for the exact dollar amounts. If it's under a certain amount, we can go with either written or verbal and less than 3. The project at Capehart will require at least 3 bids because that's a pretty big project with a lot of resources involved. Larry, correct me. I want to say the 45,000, 50,000 is the cutoff for requiring the 3 bids.
No, I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it's a little higher than that. So the signboard, we could essentially go out and get 1 bid, but we already have several, I believe. And the second project, which is the Capehart Gymnasium, we definitely want to go out to bid on that. There's several aspects of that project. There's the replacement of the gymnasium floor, installing electronic bleachers and basketball hoops. That could probably fall under a general contractor who would then sub it out. But for a project of that size and scope, we would definitely want to go out and get as many bids as we can.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah, we have the 2 solid bids on the signboard, and then the manufacturer of the type of board we're looking at is going to be submitting a bid as well for the installation of their own board. We're just in the process now of identifying general contractors that do basketball floor renovations, installations, and we've got 4 or 5 pretty good prospects based on feedback from other districts in the region, and our facility maintenance supervisor has done some homework as well. So I don't anticipate we'll have any problems getting multiple bidders on that project.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Anyone have any questions for Scott?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yes, Miss Crystal.
Yes, this is Crystal. I'm super glad to hear that Car Rosario is getting more swings. That was one of the assessments that I had when I did my tour of the parks. And community members even chimed in saying, you know, there's only one swing and all of those things. So is that something that we can share with community, that this is tentative February, or is this something that we keep quiet until it happens and then we advertise or let folks know? That's my first question.
Well, I think sharing the information in a forum such as this, when we do have members of the community out there, it's not a secret. I mean, you know, ideally they'll come when they say they're going to come, and we'll have them installed within a matter of a couple of days. It's not a very complicated installation. Obviously, bigger projects sometimes require community input. This is more of a replacement, kind of a fix-it type project. So, no, it's not a secret. They're welcome to kind of track the progress of the job, and I'm thinking by the end of the first or beginning of the second week in February, the kids will be able to swing at Car Rosario again. So.
And then my next question is about Ridge Point Park, or just parks in general. For Ridge Point Park, there was a need, or someone asked about getting additional benches or an awning, something to cover up the park, the benches and area. How do we get something like that on the list of projects to complete? Like, how do we share some of the enhancements that community members have expressed to improve their parks?
Well, I think the first step is getting the feedback from the community, because we are definitely open to feedback, and really at a certain point, Crystal, the responsibility kind of turns back to the board of directors, because we'll be starting our budgeting process for 21-22 soon, and if there are projects like that that are identified that the board is interested in including in the budget, that becomes part of the discussion that Larry leads with the staff and the board. So I think it starts with the kind of the idea of what the community would like. Ridge Point's an interesting partnership, as you're aware. That's school district property. I
was actually referring to the park that's on the corner. Is
Right.
that also school district property?
It is on school district property. Many years ago, this district entered into an MOU with, it wasn't even Twin Rivers, it was well before Twin Rivers was formed. And the land where the multi-use room sits was Park District property. So the Park District swapped that property and put up some resources so that multi-use room would be able to get built. In exchange, we get access to the multi-use room after school hours. We get the park setting itself after hours. We do all the maintenance on the exterior, on the fields, the playgrounds, the trees, things like that. So it is definitely a joint use agreement that we have with Twin Rivers now. But yes, we are responsible for the playground itself. If we were to do any improvements, additions, adding benches, adding shade structures, things like that.
And you're referring to that smaller corner, the one on the corner?
Correct.
Okay. Question. So now that school is, I'm not sure if Ridge Point is not back in school. Who's responsible for keeping that gate open so folks can have access to the park that's a part of, or the play structure in the school? Okay.
Maybe I misspoke a little. Are you talking about the play structure within the gates? of
No,
the
that was
school.
that's my second question. Now, I was talking, the first question was about the play structure outside the gates.
That
Now,
is
my
the one we're
second
responsible
question is about the one inside.
I couldn't respond to that. I don't have an answer for that one, because that is controlled by the school district itself. So, and
All right, so
probably
you
the
all
school
aren't the
staff.
ones that open it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my other one is, are dog parks created on the same way parks are? Like, is there a different process to develop a dog park for community or in
Larry, you want to take that one?
Having been involved with 3 dog parks at other places I've worked, yeah, you treat a dog park, really, it's no different than the same process you would go about for developing a neighborhood park. It's a little simpler, generally speaking, but it's the same process. Though in this case, the board would have to decide, one, is it's a necessity, something that they would like to do. A site, generally a centralized geographic site, would be selected by the community within North Highlands. And then we would start working with the community and holding public meetings, trying to get input from the public as to what would be the type of amenities that they'd like to see in a dog park, how large, that sort of thing. And then again, depending upon where the dog park is located, we would want to get input from the neighborhood to make sure that that's a park amenity that they're going to be comfortable with. So, but the answer to your question is, yeah, it's pretty much the same process that we would use. But first of all, we have to determine if there's a need and a proposed location, and then we can start putting some numbers together of approximately what the cost would be, depending on how big they want the dog park to be and that sort of thing.
Super excited to explore that. We received some community input about getting a dog park. And then I wanted to know, how do you determine need? Like, is
I'm
it
sorry.
based on a percentage of community members that respond? Like, how do you determine need?
Well, that's it's a lot of ways you could do that. You could do a community survey. You could, you know, as you and I have talked before, we have a master plan that is currently in place that's nearing the end of its effective life. You're going to see that is an item we will be discussing as part of the next year's budget. So in the next couple months, you'll be hearing more about that. Certainly, the board has to make a decision if they agree that this is the time to fund that. But that would be the appropriate way to do it. And the reason I say that is we don't have a dog park. And so there may be a lot of different communities, neighborhoods within North Highlands that might want a dog park. So, you know, we would go through the same process. I think that would be actually the perfect process to do that, because with the master plan, we're going to reach out to the entire community, not just to find out dog parks, but future parks, future recreation amenities, those type of things. So for something like that, I think that would be probably the more appropriate process, especially since we know that if we don't do it now, it's just a matter of time before we have to develop a new park master plan.
And then my last question, I believe, Larry, you said that you would be able to provide a list of like pending projects or things that are on the list for repairs or renovations or things like that. Is that accurate?
Yeah, we have, I think mainly because of the holidays, we have not been able to do that. But by the February board meeting, we'll have that in your board packet, and we'll go, Scott and his crew will go through each one of the parks and come back and give you the board a preliminary report saying that here's the overall condition of the park. Here are the things that either need to be replaced, repaired. So we'll have that for you by next meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.
But to tag on that, Larry, I mean, this is something though that if her constituents or our constituents out there see something wrong in a park, we can call you, correct? And then you can notate it and go from there, right?
Sure. I would go to the district's website. You can either leave an email at the website. There's also email and telephone numbers for each one of our staff. So there's numerous ways that you can relay that information to us. You know, we have staff in the parks, you know, basically 5-6 days a week. We know there's certain things that need to be replaced, but we also know that some of those are very costly. And that's why we need to bring it back to the board to see what, if any of those projects would be considered for funding by the board for next year's budget.
Right. I think what I'm trying to So if a board member, a board of directors like us have someone comes up to us and says, hey, can you find out about, that's where we would call you. We wouldn't call the other people. I mean, not the other, I don't want to stereotype Rachel, Scott, or Sarah as others, but I mean, if they come to us as a board member, we bring it to the park district's attention. We bring it to you, correct?
Correct. You can bring it to me or you certainly bring it to Scott, but either one of the two would probably be the more appropriate to.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, Miss Sarah.
All right. Just a couple things to update on. The expanded learning after school program. We just got an email today that the Mad Science collaboration is going to happen starting in April, and we're going to get 6 one-hour sessions on Wednesdays. Rachel's been working really hard with Janelle, who is our rep, to get that going. She's been a great advocate for Mad Science. So we're really, really excited. It's a great opportunity, and it's something different than just your average everyday Zoom. So we're really, really looking forward to that. And the students are back. We've been back for 2 weeks. Everything's been going great. The parents seem to have heeded caution and did everything we needed them to do. So we have healthy and happy kids, and everything is going really well. Our partnership with Twin Rivers is expanding. We had 2 board trustees come to visit, and we are hopefully, we've already received some donations from Miss Christine, and she's going to be reaching out to us for sizes and hopefully get all of our kids some winter coats, which is going to be really, really great for them and possibly some family members. So it's just something that just kind of opening the door has really flourished and kind of showing off everything that we have as far as facility space and the program that we're offering, and our great staff that Rachel has done a really great job training to make sure that the kids are on task. It's just, we're just really doing it's just great. I don't know how else to say it. It's really, really awesome to see what some of the things have come out of it. So besides that, the report speaks for itself. Those were just the updates I wanted to give, but I'll take questions if there are any. Yes, Pat.
Just to tag along what I said earlier in chairperson report, on that emergency situation. Now, I know working for the state where I was in the system, when we had incidents like that, we had like a follow-up team or a peer support team that went and checked on people, checked on like Rodney after it was all over, or Rachel, or even yourself. Hey, how you doing? How do you feel? Do you feel connected, disconnected? You know, do we have any, we don't have anything like that being a special district. I mean, but I think, I just want to recommend that maybe we should, you know, just a follow-up, because maybe I'll pick on you, Rachel, you're the youngest, you know, that might've been the first time she ever seen somebody not breathing. Okay. So it could have been traumatic for her, but she pulled through because of her training, and that's how we do everything's training. But excuse me, but just a little follow-up. Hey, you doing all right?
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you for the shout outs. We definitely appreciate that. You know, I do want to say that the office has really great open communication. That's an avenue we can explore. I know Scott heads up the safety team, so maybe that's something we can add to the agenda next time to really discuss a little bit more. But we all have really done a great job, Scott, Rachel, and I have really speaking on the situation and just making sure that the conversation hasn't been lost. And so, you know, from my standpoint, I think there's been a good amount of checking in. And, you know, I don't really, you know, it's something I definitely think that we could look into. It was the first experience, I think, for many of us. So continuing the conversation throughout the weeks after really helped myself. And I don't want to speak for Rachel, but you know, in our conversations, I think it was something that was good. And I won't speak for Scott either there, but you know, it was good for me to hear from everybody. And that was a wonderful thing that you did. You know, the gathering was very sweet. and much appreciated.
I put most of that on my wife. It was her idea to do it, not mine.
Well,
You know, to thank you guys, you
Send
know,
my
for
thanks
what
to
you
her
did.
as well, please.
But yeah, no, it's just something, I know how the prison system works, and that's why I said it that way. You know, we always have a follow-up just to like me as supervisor, I go, hey, you all right? Good? Yeah, okay. And then we check up a week later and make sure. Because sometimes it doesn't hit until they get home. You know, and then
That's really good feedback,
Yeah.
Pat. And
Oh.
definitely take that in consideration.
you know, I mean, that just like I said, I'm a community chaplain. I was a peer support supervisor down at the academy. I know what it's like when people go through some things, and it's just a good, just to let them know there's somebody there. You know?
Absolutely.
So yeah, no, that's all I had. I talked too
Appreciate
much.
that. No, you're good. Thank you. Bo, yeah, I see. I see you.
To Patrick's point, I got a chance to speak to Larry a little earlier today, and mental health came up. I brought it up to him about really needing to have a larger and broader discussion about mental health resources, and what is our overall role when we see ourselves as leaders and looking towards the health of our community. How do we look at mental health specifically? And so I see two opportunities here. Number one, when we're talking about internally how we handle our staff, I think that's easy for us to take up, maybe under personnel issues, and having some kind of policy or team or whatever, where we spell that out, what we want that to look like for our staff and our workers. And then on the broader scale, I think, you know, and you tell me when you think would be the best time, not the best time, what would be the best forum to have a broader conversation about the impacts of COVID, the impacts in our community specifically, and how we make sure that we're getting the resources from the county into this community so that we can take care of, be able to help in this assessments with mental health care, as well as maybe even providing some services. And the last bit of that is, when we are programming and thinking about programs, are we thinking about the mental health aspect, not only the physical health aspect?
I mean, mental health, I'll say we can go on. I'll get you a quick sec here, Alan. That's I mean, that's something, a lot of it's just out of our powers. We can only do so much as a special district. I wish we could do more. I mean, there's only so much that we can do as being a board of directors. You know, we can bring it to Larry's attention. He can do what he can and bring it back to us, and we can yay or nay it. But mental health, I mean, that's a tough one. Alan.
I just kind of want to follow what you just said, Pat. Keep in mind, our big responsibility is parks and recreation. Mental health is not our responsibility. I know it's a big concern. I worked for the county before I retired, but that's something that we don't have the resources to really get into.
Well, I will, you know, put my hat out there that I'm willing to sit and brainstorm with Larry, staff, and board, whoever wants to brainstorm. You know, this COVID has really helped me to think outside of the box. Like, we have to think outside the box. And so, yes, I see for park facilities and programming as it relates to recreation, that does not limit us in making sure that it is speaking to the whole person. You know, whether it could be a basketball camp, but we have been, or the staff has had some training on some special mental health techniques that they can use to make sure that folks are physically well and mentally doing well. So I think if at least hearing from some community folks, hearing from some healthcare folks, and I've been having these conversations offline. I don't have the answers yet, but I do know that there are, just like we partnered with Twin Rivers School District, there are some other people that we can partner with to make sure we get these resources in, because I know we have a very limited scope in our work here, but this is the only elected positions that are exclusive to North Highlands. Any other elected official is being shared with other communities in Sacramento County. So we really, really, really are the heart of North Highlands. And so I'm always going to push myself to try to think out the box just a little bit.
Can I interject real
I just-
quick? I mean, all of our programming as far as sports, youth programs, it's a goal of mine and Rachel's as well. We're not just, if we're doing a basketball program, we're not just teaching them basketball skills. It's teamwork. It's how to be a better person. It's how to put yourself out there and stretch yourself on a little bit. When you look at youth programming from a sports perspective, from our camp perspective, and even what we're doing in distance learning, we do approach it as an entire, because there's life lessons in everything that you do, and that is a passion of mine. And the mental health aspect from a clinical standpoint and from a medical standpoint, that's not my background. That's not what I do. That's not to say I'm not open to learning, but when we are able to program, right now we're just not because of COVID. That is a priority of mine and Rachel's, is to make sure we hit the individual as a whole from several different aspects and not just from one and one note, because we understand that there's a fiscal challenge for some of these families, and so if they can only afford to put their kid in basketball, what else can we get them? What can we shove into an hour and a half of practice and 1 hour on the weekend during a game? So that is a priority of ours.
Right.
But, we can do some expansive research and kind of look into where it aligns more along with COVID. And there's a lot of mindfulness tactics and stuff like that, training is available.
Okay.
That I've been sitting in on.
Thank you, Sarah. Alan, real
Thank you.
quick. So we
Yeah,
can,
that's fine. I just want to add on to what Sarah said. As most of you know, I was a youth sports coach for many, many years, and I totally agree with what Sarah said. You're not just teaching them this sport, you're teaching them life lessons. But I did want to relay to Bo that keep in mind, we're not just North Highlands, we're part of Sacramento, part of Antelope too. So just keep that in mind, that we're not just strictly North Highlands.
so I want to try and stay on topic.
Thank you for that, Alan.
So we don't, well, what you brought up, something very good. That's what I like about this agenda coming out a week in advance. If there's things that we see, we can contact Larry and talk to him. Hey, what do you think? Larry is our go-to guy. The mental health, unfortunately, that's just not, we can only do so much with being a small special district. We, just trying to stay afloat is what we're trying to do now with the park district, so, but yeah, I just want to get back on topic so we can get this going. So.
I had a question or a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I do want to just, while you all were talking about that, about the goal of the district, a part of it is to enrich the quality of life for residents and visitors alike. So that ties in as well. I wanted to ask Sarah, I have worked with Trustee Jefferson before. Amazing. Is there do y'all do anything, do we do anything on an annual basis for the students that you all work with, or just something intentional to get more donations or funding or more, like she said, coach? Yeah. Is this something that we can expand to get more community involved, not community, but partnerships or involvement, or are you just going to work with Trustee Jefferson? Are you open to working with getting more resources to the young folks and their families?
We're open to it, but I'm not saying that it's not an opportunity. We're two people though, and we have, it's a lot. So, looking into getting donations for events, I spend months on that. There's a lot of things that we can do, but we do have to prioritize what it is that we can do, and with the amount of staff that we have. So I'm not, Trustee Jefferson, that was something that came through Mr. Baker, and that was me reaching out. So obviously there's a desire to partner with organizations to help us reach our goals. but there's only a limited amount of time in the day. So it does take time. It does take some reprioritization. And if there's a good thing that comes out of COVID, it's that we can reevaluate everything that we were doing. And that's the way I'm seeing it. So I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying absolutely we're open to the opportunity and the idea, but I want to make sure that there's an understanding that there's going to be a limit to it, because we take something else up, something else has got to go. Because we only have so much time and so many bodies.
And Larry, is that something that directors, and I'll just put it out there, is there something that I can support with? Like if that's a need that students have, or we identify our families need X, Y, and Z, is that something that a director can support with, leveraging some of their partnerships and their relationships to get these resources or services to our families?
Well, I think that opens up a larger question, Crystal. I think that's, again, and I think we're going to talk about it somewhat on a different subject later on, but do keep in mind that whatever the district decides to do on any issue, we want to make sure that it's something that the board has addressed, and the board, it's a priority of the board. I'm not trying to pass it off. I'm just trying to be real honest with you that, the board has to listen to a lot of, whether it's coming from other directors or coming from the public, a lot of requests, a lot of things. And, the process we normally use is that it's brought up, it's discussed. We look at whether, one, we have the skills or capability of doing it, but we also want to make sure that that it's not, as maybe Pat or Alan said earlier, it's not something that it's not outside our purview, but it's also something that, how do I want to say it? It's something that the board is going to stand behind and has told staff that that's something they want us to be doing. Again, I won't say it more than this one time, because I think you guys all understand it. Small district, small number of staff, and what we have to do is find out what the board priorities are, and we will do whatever the board asks us to do.
And I'm just super grateful for the Facebook page. I'm so serious. I don't know who's managing it, but I loved the 12 days of Christmas. I loved how you highlighted the program participants, the gifts that they received. I was blown away, like, ooh. And my last question is, how do we get our pictures on the Park District's website? Like, are we supposed to come in and take a picture or what? And that's it. But I'm really just proud of the work that you all are doing and the impact that you have on the students and families. Thank you.
Appreciate that. So Rachel gets all the credit on Facebook. She's done a fantastic job making sure we have a presence. If you can all get us some more likes and feedback and people hitting on us, because there are times we get 4 likes and it's me, Rachel, her significant other, and my significant other. And then we get a couple other people. So it's if we can get some help in getting followers, that would be great. So that way, all that hard work she puts in is actually seen in the community. That would be wonderful. And then your second question, the photos. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, that one slipped down out of my mind there. So, if you pop in, not tomorrow because I won't be in the office, but next week, I just let me know or let Larry know, and we'll get your picture taken and we can get it up there.
Is that good? All right, we're going to move on. We don't need no more conversation there. 7, correspondence. We don't have any, right, Larry? Good. No comments from report. Nothing before 3 o'clock today, right?
Nothing.
Cool. 9, unfinished business. We have none. All right. 10, new business. Budget workshop. Now I know, I'll let you, Larry, I'll let you start.
All right. I'm not going to read verbatim the information that's in the report. Hopefully it's not too detailed, but detailed enough so that it makes sense to you. If you don't mind, I'd like to take about 5 minutes. I just wrote a few things down that I would like to share with, especially with the 3 new directors who may not be necessarily aware of the kind of the historical process we use. And this year, it's taken on kind of an added impact due to COVID. So if you wouldn't mind, let me just take a few minutes and and I'll certainly answer any questions you have at the end. So as part of the 2021 fiscal year budget, staff typically presents a mid-year budget review for board of directors in January of each year. The review provides a look at expenditures and revenues for the first 6 months, July through December, while projecting the same final 6 months, January to June. So if you think about the budget, think about it, and we're talking about it in 2 time segments. The first 6 months, in which we, in this case, we know what the numbers are, and we're going to project the last 6 months. As part of this report, staff typically asks the board to make certain budget adjustments so the district has sufficient operating capital to get through the end of June. This year, staff received the budget, received the December 2020 financial report from the county earlier than normal. This included the property taxes. Frequently, property tax revenue isn't received by the district until the county, from the county until around mid-January. This year, we actually got it on December 30th, which is fantastic. I had to write my report all over again and got away from projections to actuals, but that's okay. That's even better. Therefore, staff is able to provide actual numbers for the revenues and expenditures rather than give you a projection. As a background information for the 3 new directors, the COVID-19 began interrupting district services towards the middle of, or late March 2020. Beginning in April, recreation programs, facility rentals, and other district operations slowed or stopped completely. Due to the initial stay-at-home order, the district office was closed with staff working from home for several weeks. Later, park staff returned and started performing work on our parks, keeping them clean and safe and making sure nothing's damaged. Shortly after that, the staff who had been working at home started coming back, working some days in the office, some days at home, until towards the end of, I believe it was April, maybe early May, everyone returned back to work. And of course, that had a couple interruptions during the last 8 months when we had to close down because of some COVID issues with our staff. The board adopted the budget for 2021 with a clear understanding that district operations, programs, and services would be severely impacted throughout the year due to COVID-19. State and local health orders prohibited many, if not all, the district's recreation programs and other activities and services that generated revenue to the district. As a precaution, staff scaled back expenses and reduced revenue projections for the year. To help ensure that the district was prepared for unforeseen expenses and negative impacts to its revenues, the board wisely budgeted $200,000 in our contingency fund, which is approximately 4 times the normal amount, which is generally we put in $35,000 to $50,000. This contingency fund would act as a life preserver should the district need additional operating capital to get through the end of the budget year. Fortunately for the district, over the last few years, it has been able to put funds away in this reserve account for rainy days such as this. Normally, the district would have about $500,000 in its reserve fund and about $50,000 in its contingency fund. Beginning July 1st of this year, this budget year, the district had nearly $1 million in its reserve fund and $200,000 in its contingency fund. Collectively, these 2 funds represent approximately 1/2 of the district's 1-year operating budget. That's pretty good. This represents a financial safety net should the district need additional operating capital to get through the end of the year or to address unforeseen emergencies. As I previously shared with the board, for the first 6 months of the current fiscal year, the district has been unable to offer traditional recreation programs and services to the community. We're not the only one. Every district, every park and recreation department, county, city, special district, we all went through exactly the same thing because the health orders apply to them as well as it does to us. Fortunately, staff was able to partner with the Twin Rivers School District to offer a distance learning program at the community center that has resulted in unexpected and unplanned revenue source. Had we not done this, we would not have had any rentals in that building because they were prohibited. But and I give a lot of credit to Sarah and Rachel. They pursued this, went to the district, and we pushed really hard to get them to consider hosting a distance learning program at our site. And believe it or not, I believe it was a few days before after we signed the contract, the program began. So it all came together real quick. Additionally, the ACES, or after school program, has continued virtually and has generated badly needed revenue as well. These two programs, along with leased property revenue, have helped fill the gap of lost recreation program revenue. As you've seen in your report, we have generated $0 for facility rentals, indoor or outdoor, this year. So heading into the current budget year, the district has drastically reduced its expenditures and scaled back revenue projections from the previous year because of the unknown impacts due to COVID-19. As a result of these actions, by the end of December 2020, the district's expenditures are currently under budget, while revenues, primarily the result of the distance learning program and improved property taxes, have helped backfill lost recreation program and rental revenue. I think I've mentioned to you before that normally we budget for about a 3 to 4% increase on property taxes every year. This year we purposely decided to leave it flat. The same amount that we generated last year was what we put into the budget. Fortunately for us, that has resulted in about an $80,000 increase in property tax. That covers, just put it in perspective, that covers all our rentals and it covers our losses with our leases. So it was couldn't happen at a better time. Along with the other operational reductions as noted in the board report, staff believe that it's possible the district could end up the fiscal year in much better financial situation than we thought 6 to 8 months ago. Even 2 months ago, I wasn't sure where we were going to stand from revenues, and thank goodness things came through, because we would have made some unpleasant decisions had it not. However, we've all learned by now the impacts of COVID-19 change by the day, by the hour, by the week. The district has approximately $74,000 remaining in the contingency fund for unforeseen emergencies through the end of June. This is provided that the board approves the expenditure request out of the contingency fund. A full-time maintenance position remains unfilled, and I'm uncertain at this time if or when we're going to fill that position, but I can tell you, and Scott could tell you, that it's badly needed. We don't have enough maintenance staff to begin with, and to have one less is making everything much more of a challenge for us. We had a full-time office assistant position, and unfortunately I had to lay that position off last March, and we have not filled it. Staff, primarily Rachel and Sarah and Terry, have been answering the phones, dealing with deliveries, and doing the things that this person would normally do, but we've been able to get by without filling that position. I'm relatively confident that the district can get by without any major expenditures through the end of June 2021. But that also assumes that we do not experience any emergencies in the final 6 months. Staff must continue to keep our focus not only on the current budget, but next year's budget as well. As the board is aware, the budget planning process for next year's budget typically begins in February. It is then adopted by the board in June and goes in effect July 1st. I'm almost done. Next year's budget will present many challenges and questions. Will the COVID-19 pandemic end, or will it stay around for part or all of next year? Will the district be able to resume some or all of its traditional recreation programs and facility rentals? Will students return to the classroom? How will that affect the distance learning program and the revenues it provides the district? With unemployment still at a high number, will families have discretionary funds to pay for recreation programs and services offered by the district? With the increased public demand for our parks, how long can the district continue to keep maintenance positions unfilled? With a long list of unmet district projects and studies to be addressed, will there be funding for them? These are just a few of the questions that we have and that we're going to have to address in next year's budget. Included in the budget report is a request for the board to authorize expenditures of $126,980 to address the additional operating needs through the end of June. You'll take that up when that item comes up, and it's a resolution that needs to be approved by the board. that's all I have to say. If anybody has any questions, I can tell you that I'm glad the numbers look like they do. First week of December, I wasn't sure. Second week of December, I was nervous. Third week of December, I started feeling a lot better. When Sarah told me that that Twin Rivers wanted to sign a second contract, that was great. That was a lot of money coming into the district. And also, when we found out our property taxes were higher than expected, that was also a pleasant surprise. So while I anticipated not giving such a rosy report, I am happy to say that it's better than what I had hoped. And I hope that it continues this way through the end of the fiscal year. Any questions?
Well, I want to start off real quick, and I've said it to you before, Larry, to our 3 new fellow board members. Larry, you ask for a sentence or two, he'll give you 5 pages. You know, he is thorough. Sometimes you're just going, come on, Larry, come on. But everything that he says, he gives it to us. It's not like we don't know. And that's what I like about Larry, because he'll put it out there and he can vouch for it. I call him a lot. Hey, what the hell is this? You know, and he explains it. And he'll say, oh, if you go to page 2, halfway, you know, I mean, everything is here. I just want to say Larry is the atlas of knowledge putting together stuff like this. I'm surprised Napa let him go, but
they didn't let me go. I retired.
No, that's right. You retired because he's definitely been beneficial to me.
I think that's a polite way of Pat saying that Larry talks too much.
I would never say that. You just have a lot of knowledge. All right, I'm sorry. I just had to put that out there for them. Anyone got any questions for Larry on?
I appreciate the thorough feedback and information and explanation. It's very detailed, and thank you.
Like I said,
I
that's one
agree.
thing.
I usually have a lot of questions when it comes to numbers, but the way you spelled it out in your narrative, and then to have the resolution that just bullet points exactly what we're doing and exactly what the decision needs to be, quite helpful. Thank you.
I tell you, that's one thing he does. He is thorough, you know, and it just everything, like you said, if you don't know, call. He never sends you the voicemail, or at least he hasn't done it to me yet. And I call him at least every other day. So, Alan, you got any questions? No?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Max is just sitting there relaxing, so I know better with him.
Larry.
All right.
Well, if no one's got any questions.
I'm just happy to give the board good news.
Yeah, that was real good news when I saw it. I guess we can work on the resolution then. Resolution 597. Let me get to it. Resolution of North Highlands Recreation and Park District authorizing contingency fund transfer in the amount of, was it 126? All right.
980.
2690. Anybody?
I still move to adopt the resolution proposed. Mine doesn't say
Second.
980, but
597. What did I say?
yeah, 597.
Oh, did I say a wrong number? I'm old.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, so that passes. Then we'll move on to C, board meeting streaming discussions. Larry,
All right.
now you had a sip of water.
So last month, our first board meeting with the new directors, I believe it was Bo and maybe Crystal, I don't remember, but I certainly remember Bo mentioning, bringing up the discussion about the possibility of looking at other options available to the district to reach out to the public. Unfortunately, we weren't able to connect on that, but I wanted to do one thing first before I get into this. I just want to make sure the new directors understand that I'm not trying to dissuade any board member or director from bringing anything up. I would never do that. But when a board takes action on a certain item and they want to change or possibly modify that action, it does require action of the board. So we couldn't have done anything last meeting because it wasn't on the agenda. But I just wanted to get an idea from the board, the entire board. Were you looking to change Zoom or augment Zoom with other options? But in anticipation of this meeting, I did want to point out to the board that I did read, there's a total of 8 park and recreation districts in Sacramento County. I reached out to all 8 and just to get some feedback to find out what they're using and are they happy with it and anything they're doing. Believe it or not, all 8 of them use Zoom. They've tried some other ones and they weren't happy with those for one reason or another. One district in particular uses Zoom and has hired what I'm trying to think of the name of it here. It's a company in Sacramento that will actually come up similar to what we've done before our board meetings, but it sounds more extensive. Sets up the equipment, and not only will they put a screen in the room that shoots the Zoom meeting on the screen. So they do this as part of their regular board meeting, in-person meeting, and they offer that as an alternative, and then they stream it to Facebook. But primarily, everyone I heard from today is using Zoom, seem to be very happy with it. As I mentioned in the report,
Larry, sorry to interrupt you, but you asked a question and I wanted to give you that answer before you continue.
Sure.
Which was what I was talking about was additional resources to Zoom, not changing over from Zoom, and thinking more specifically about the Google suites of options that we could use.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, again, you and I didn't get a chance to communicate about this since the last board meeting, and thank you for sharing that with me. But anyway, I just wanted to let the board know that one thing I certainly would like to see our district change is we initially started with the requiring the public to submit questions prior to the meeting. And then that would be shared with the chair, who would then ask the question. Well, we haven't had a lot of public involvement that way, but I found out from the other districts that those who tried it decided to stop doing it because they weren't getting inundated with questions. So they open it up. So they're treating their Zoom meetings as if they're just the public is sitting in the audience at an in-person meeting. That's no problem for us to do that. And so if that's a simple thing, I don't even know if that requires board action. You could just certainly give a thumbs up and we could change that part of it. But I did want to just put this out there. I just wanted to give the board an understanding of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what it takes to change anything that we do, that when a board takes action on it. So if I'm not being crystal clear, I'm trying to, but this, you may not have to take any action on this if you don't want to, or the board can choose to do so.
I'm sorry, Larry. What is the specific ask? What you saying you don't have to do it? You do what is on the table that this board should discuss?
So what is on the table right now is one is a clarification that of what we're doing and how we got here, and any change to that, any significant change to that. If the board decided to dump Zoom for Microsoft Teams, then that would take action from the board. If you're happy with Zoom, we will continue using Zoom. And if the board wishes to have us do away with the advanced question and just allow the public to come on live and speak when items are on the agenda or during the public comment, we certainly can do that as well.
Alan.
Well, my opinion is, I think what we've been doing has been working fine, and I think we had to just keep doing this. I think if we have everybody sitting here trying to ask questions, this could get completely chaotic because I don't know, Sarah, you're the originator of this meeting. I don't know how you'd be able to mute people without just coming in and talking.
I'm in talks with Zoom right now on the possibility of how I could give mute and unmuted access to board members and then have everybody else muted, but I've not heard back. It would be a challenge. There would have to be rules that would be set out that would say, you know, you have to stay muted. If you don't, you could be removed to the wait list, so on and so forth. So it would take quite a few rules. There would be some things that we would need to do if we're opening it up for people to speak.
Well, I'm hoping
Chris-
that since we're now out of the stay at home and we're back in purple, hopefully we'll go back to red and pretty soon we'll be able to have in-person meetings. So at this point, I would rather just keep it the way we've got it.
Crystal?
For me, when I was even running and campaigning, trying to get access to what was happening with North Highlands Park and Rec and Park was extremely challenging and difficult. It was not accessible, and I think Bo even mentioned it. Making sure that we offer opportunities for our community members to participate, even if it's one or two, having it out there. I would like to see it streamed on Facebook or even YouTube, using the technology that we already have in available to us. There is definitely an option in Zoom to mute all participants and have control. There's an option to remove people from the meeting if you have to, but I definitely think if we really want to enhance our engagement and meeting our communities and getting their input, we need to have it accessible. So I think option 3 was to do that and pursue more. And I also was wondering, how can we get public comment maybe at the end, not at the beginning? Because how do you even know what to comment? Like, this is the entire packet is not available to community members. It's just the agenda. So how do you know what to comment on if you even haven't even heard discussion or what members have shared or the board is discussing? So I would like to see it being streamed on Facebook or YouTube, since we do now have a YouTube page, I see, and then offering an opportunity for the public to comment during the meeting.
If
Alan?
I could, okay.
Let Alan's had his hand up.
Yeah, I've got a couple. So I've got a couple issues. For my license, every time I've gone to training, they always tell everybody, don't use Facebook. Facebook is horrible security-wise. And I just think that's absolutely insane if we go start streaming on Facebook. So I just don't get it. Now, the other thing is, if people want to comment on something, any agenda that we talk about, they can comment anytime during a board meeting. It's the reason we put it up front is because that way, if people want to come and say something, they don't have to sit through the entire board meeting if they don't want to. And people have thanked us for putting it at the beginning of the meeting. The Board of Supervisors put it at the end of the meeting and people have had to sit there for 5 and 6 hours waiting to talk. So that's.
Can I comment, please?
We'll get you in a sec, Bo. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, I just, wanted to get some clarification around this because I don't know a lot about a lot of the different streaming options, but from a legal perspective, I did check with our county legal counsel. He's a contract attorney. His firm provides attorneys for lots of cities and counties and special districts and water districts and those kind of things as an in-house attorney. And he did tell me today, he said that in the event that the district would consider using Facebook Live, to check with him first, because he says none of his clients use it for the reasons that were probably stated earlier about the what's the word I'm looking for, the security issue around that. And one other thing I do want to share with any of the board members who have a Facebook live page. I was also informed that keep in mind, if you're using that to stream board meetings, which is fine, just keep in mind that if we were to receive a public records request for something that somebody said on your page, you would have to get those records and submit those records. We wouldn't do that. You'd have to do that because it's your personal page. So that's all I know about it. But our attorney did say that if we were considering going to that option, to let him know, and he'll do more research on it. But just for a matter of perspective, he said none of his clients use it at all. It doesn't mean it can't be used. It's just that maybe we need to know a little bit more about it from a board perspective before we go down that route. I'm not opposed to any of these things. I support anything that gets the more public involved in our board activities and our district activities. That's why I wanted to bring it up. And really the issue is, you know, what do you want the staff to do? Do you want us to do more research around these options? Or do you, are you happy with what you have now? Or do you want to slightly modify what you have now? I've given you 3 options, and maybe for the argument's sake, we should stick with that and make sure that the board takes an action on one of these 4, or if you have another option to consider, but that the board take a vote on these so we can know what to do. Staff knows what you want us to do moving forward.
All right, Bo, and then I have a question after Bo.
So I want to support the last end of what you said, Larry. So I support option 3, and I support option 3 the way it is written. I would also like to see, we talked in the last board meeting that there's a place where we can define future work or things that we want to see on the next agenda. I would like to see more research, and what I would head this as is digital outreach, ways to digitally outreach to our community with a focus on the board meetings. And so I would like to see that research from you and your team. Lastly, with this, whatever we decide with the options, we do need a written protocol. For example, if we support option 3, there needs to be a protocol that says you have 2 minutes to speak. And I'm just putting this out as an example. You have 2 minutes to speak. The Zoom administrator will let you know when it is your time to speak. You will get maybe even we give them a 30-second warning, and then your mic will be muted at the end of your 2 minutes. And that no mic will be unmuted, you know, without following this protocol. And lastly, I know you're working with the Zoom folks, Sarah, but I'll put throw my head out there. I work a lot on Zoom. That's my whole day at this point. So if it's any of these little features and things like that you might want to go over, we can talk that through. Like you just you pointed out to me, I realize you're the administrator and not Patrick. So I've been raising my hands, Patrick, but you can't see it. Only Sarah can see it. So now I've started to actually raise it.
I can see your hand. I nod my hand. When someone raises their hand, I nod it.
Yeah, but there's a raise hand feature in
Right.
Zoom. And I've been clicking that. But anyway, and Sarah just let me know, Patrick can't see that. You got to raise your hand up. So real quickly, I support option 3. I would like to see more research on outreach, electronic outreach, virtual outreach options to our community. And then I forgot my 3rd point, but you guys got it.
I've been coming to these meetings even before I came on the board.
Oh, protocol. Sorry. Go ahead, Patrick.
You know, and like I said, I used to, when I had my son in a baseball league at Brock Park, I would come to meetings every month. And there were months even when there was no baseball or anything, there's nobody showed up. This Zoom thing is all new to all of us. Okay, this last 12 months, 10 months now, it's something new to all of us. You know, we don't get many people that come to our meetings. Now, the agenda part of it, Crystal, I didn't know that. I thought the whole agenda was up there. You know,
The whole agenda is on there. It's just not the packet that we receive for them to go through and read all the details and all of that.
Mm-hmm. But see, I always thought that it was. So, I mean, that's a lacking on my part. But like I said, what I wanted to get to keep it short, I've been to so many meetings at the parties where I had no involvement at all. I still came because I wanted to know what was going on in my neighborhood, even before Zoom. I think that's the way it should be. That's why hopefully as Zoom goes away, we can go back to in person. Because that's how if you're really concerned about your district, now we have Zoom. You're right. It's all we have. But being there, and you're going to see, since you guys are brand new, when we're back to normal, the only time someone comes to us is when they want something free. They don't come to see what's going on in their community. They want some. And we talk about being involved in our area. It's getting those people. Hey, our board meeting is second Thursday every month. Please show up. Please sit in and listen to us. You don't have to stay there. Just come and listen to what we got to say. So.
Question, can we have public comment more than once on the board, on the agenda at the beginning
Like-
and at the end? Or is that something that is?
This is something new to us, Crystal. It's usually in the beginning because a lot of people only come for certain things. And you'll see sometimes when we're going through new business, someone will want us to donate something or get something. And they might be F in the new business section. We'll move them up in the beginning to get them over or something else. So we accommodate everybody, but there are just some things we're not going to change. I don't think we're going to change. I can't say that because there's 5 of us, but it's something that we would have to decide is, put it up to Larry. Hey, do a little research for us, Larry, and he'll bring it back to us and we'll yay or nay. So I guess then, Larry gave us 3 recommendations, 1, 2, or 3. So I guess what I'll do then is, what's the right way to do this, Alan? You've been around for 100 years. Just put up a finger. Not number 1.
We'll do it the way that I'll go ahead and start doing it. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we continue to do what we're doing and use option 2.
Okay. Do we have a second or do we have another motion? What do we got?
I'll second.
Second. Okay, any other further discussion?
There be an opportunity to decide again once?
Well, what we'll do now is that now we will vote, all in favor. It either passes or it doesn't. So any other further discussion is the time to talk.
My
Yeah, I would-
question is, oh, go ahead, Bill.
I would just ask my fellow board members to really give consideration, especially as we don't know. I know we're all hoping that we're going to go back and be normal next month, but that may not happen. That may not be the reality. And so the difference between 2 and 3 is opening up, questioning, giving people more opportunity to have questions, and have those questions answered. And so that's, to me, opening up to the community and getting more voices. And so that's why will not be supporting 2, and I want to support 3, because I want to give more room, more chance, and create more space for the community to have their voice. Even if they're not here now, if we build it, they'll come.
I understand what you're saying, but someone then, which is probably going to be Sarah, has to do that and monitor it more. And that's it's taking away her other time that she's been on the meeting. What are we going to hire somebody to do this? I just don't get this. This has worked fine. We have not had any complaints about this since we've been doing this since all of 2020. And like Pat said, when we have a board meeting in person before COVID, nobody would come. So, I don't understand why we're even having this discussion.
It's a good question, Bo, but the reason why I disagree with it is, what if we don't have the answer to what they asked us? How's that making us look as a board member? At least before at 3 o'clock, we have somewhat of an idea, but to answer it, to make sure it's properly answered. Just like Larry came up on who he spoke to, the attorney and everything. It's good. I just don't like questions at the end, that could catch us off guard. You know, because all we have to do is look bad once. You know, and then they can say, oh, that park district, they don't know nothing. And that's what I don't want, because I got up my heart and soul in this park district. So,
I hope
Crystal?
that once we come back in person, that we continue to offer virtual or a recording at least, so folks can watch later. I know for me, it was challenging to get to the park district at 6:30 when I got off. However, if there was a recording, which I found after searching of the guy who did the recording to find it, I was able to watch it and be informed and then make a comment. But I mean, I agree with Bo. If we create an opportunity for folks to be more engaged and to share their feedback and comments, then that's doing a great thing. And although there hasn't been any issues yet, we take it as it comes, right? Even if there's a question that comes and we don't have the answer, we can easily say, we'll get back to you, we'll follow up with you, we'll let you know. I mean, you don't have to have it right then either, but you know,
No, I understand your concern. Like I said, I've been coming here for a long time, and it's just we don't get anybody. But the answer, I'll get you in one sec here, Alan. We do have, I don't know how to say that gentleman's last name. Larry, the guy that films it.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, yeah.
Him. Okay,
Yeah.
we do have
Ken.
a guy that comes and films for us, you know, and he puts it on the web, and he also makes a digital CD that someone could check out and watch it. You know, I just having the questions at the end. I'm not I can see where it could hurt us more than hinder us. I can see it's always, you know, I'm just really not 100% sure. Let me get back to you. You know, I just don't know how the public, and since we normally don't have many public people that even come to our things, you know, and like Alan said, for years, it's been, I mean, for his last year, it's been working pretty good. So, Alan.
Well, I just kind of wanted to add what you were saying about we have our regular meetings videotaped. And someone in the staff, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't those all posted on YouTube?
Yeah, can I respond to that? Just a couple things. One, the answer to your question is, Alan, is yes. However, the individual we've contracted with to do this is experiencing some health issues. That has not been an issue for us as far as the meetings, because they've not been in person. But when the meetings are allowed to come back in person, we'll have to see if he's still interested in doing this. If not, he's not the only game in town. There's other options as well. But just so I can I'm sorry to interrupt here. I just want to point out one thing, that keep in mind, this is for the board, keep in mind that when you have questions on the agenda, those can create a dialogue between the person asking the question and the board. Questions that are not on the agenda, the board cannot answer those questions anyhow. Legally, Brown Act prohibits them from answering those questions. They could certainly say, we'll look into it and it will address it at a later time. So just to put it out there is that we have to, there's two opportunities for the public to speak. And with regards to the comment about placement of the public comments, I just want to, again, I hope this isn't coming across wrong. I just want to make sure you guys have good information. This is the board's meeting. This is the board's, not the, it's open to the public, and the Brown Act ensures that the public can participate in the meetings, but it's the board of directors meeting. It's your meeting to conduct the business of the board. How we go about doing that and involving the public is entirely up to the board. If I may, I can't remember who made the recommendation for option 3 or 2, but you could, if you want to consider modifying your option, we could stay as is, but when we come back to live meetings, that we could address this issue once again to see if the board wants to do something that supplements that option of in-person meeting, or if you want to leave it alone. But just going forward for now, we just need, the board staff needs to know what is it you would like for us to do so we can put that in place by the next meeting.
All right, well, I mean, to tag on what Larry's just saying here, yeah, well, we have Alan and Max want number 2, Crystal and Bo want number 3. So that would leave me as, I
Well,
understand
hey,
Crystal.
Pat,
Pat,
Pat, we have a motion on the table right now.
you have a motion and a second.
Correct.
Okay, so all in favor for option 2? Thumbs up so I can see. There's 1, 2. All opposed?
What is your vote, Pat? We didn't see your hand.
Oh, I went for 2.
Okay, so there's 3. Is that 3 votes in?
Three for 2, and then Crystal, you wanted 3, right? So then it's 3-2. It's option 2. But I would like to research that when we come back to live to doing the questions at the. I'd like to dwell on it more, but I mean, I think for right now is what's on our thing, our discussion. Option 2 is the way it's going to be for now.
So Pat, for clarification for staff, the board has, by a 3-2 vote, decided to stay with the current format, which will require the public to submit their questions prior to 3 o'clock the day of the board meeting. And then once we return to open or to public, where the public can participate in the meetings in person, we will revisit that. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
All right. D, appointment of new positions. Okay. Here's what I have figured out since I was the one that was the mighty sword. You know, I wish I was signing checks so I'd give us more than $100, but here's what I got. So for the Budget, Finance, and Audit Committee, I have Alan, you're going to be the chairperson. And Crystal, you're going to be the member. Then I have for Facility Development Committee, I have Bo. I got you as the chairperson. And Crystal, again, you are the member. Personnel and Policy Committee, I have Alan as the chairperson. Max is the member. And then Programs, Fees, and Charge Committees, I have Max as the chairperson. And then Bo as the member. The way I picked these was I wanted to put a variety in there. What's the word I want to use here? I use people to their strengths, I think. I mean, like I said, I don't know Crystal, Max, and Bo that well, but just listening to them, I looked at where I thought they could help the Park District in these. So that's how I went about it. I just didn't pull a name out of the hat and go here, 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 where it'd be a good asset for us. So, Larry, did you want to add something with that, or is that going to be different?
No, I mean, that's certainly the chairman's prerogative of the assignments. The only thing is I will be coming back to the board in a later meeting to discuss the committees. As Alan and Pat are fully aware, some committees meet more frequently than others. And in the last year, we actually had a committee that didn't meet at all. I would like to maybe come back to the board and modify the policy to state something along the lines that every committee will meet at least once a year. But that's not on the agenda tonight, but we will put something on the agenda in the next couple months.
Okay, I guess there's no,
Was there another committee that was listed? Something about like communications or community relations or something of that nature?
no, just those four: budget, facility, personnel, and programs.
I remember something similar to that on some other document, Crystal. So I didn't want you to think you were in the twilight zone. I remember something, but I'll have to look, and I don't want to take away from the meeting right now to do that.
Alan?
Yeah, we renamed the committees. I believe it was last year, could have been the year before. So yeah, you may have seen something because one was called Community Relations, but we just renamed them and we have them all defined in the our guidelines.
In our
So,
policy.
Yeah, so to tack on to what Alan just said, it was 2017 that the board made modifications and changes to to this particular policy. And probably what confused Crystal on the front page of your agenda prior to this month, if you went back and looked, even though we changed the policy, it's still listed under item number 5 under reports from standing committees. It listed the old titles. And I mentioned that in the staff report that we've corrected that now. And you will be provided with a clean copy with holes pre-punched to put in your policy binder. But that's the confusion I think Crystal's alluding to, is that on the front cover, it did say something different. That was the old policy. And we just simply modified the front page to reflect the changes made in 2017.
So is that committee, was it dissolved into another, like, are the expectations or the
I think we just renamed it.
So which committee is that now?
Let me, hold on here a second. Let me see. Grab it. See, I just went and got my last month's. In my last month's, I don't know if you can see it, it does have it, like Larry was saying, community relations. And that is programs and programs, fees, and charges. So if you, last month it has where it said where that community resource.
So
Community relations.
even if a board member is not selected to serve on that committee as a member or a chair, can they still attend the meetings and participate?
No.
No.
You cannot have a majority of the board.
If that board member shows up to a committee that they're not on, then you have a majority of the board, and then it's a board meeting.
So I had emailed Patrick at the end of the meeting where he shared for us that he instructed us to let him know what we're interested in. And I selected that one, and I wasn't listed as being a part of it. So is that just next time I'll try again?
No. Well, what it is you 4 board members, I'm not on one of the boards. So it's you 4. So I have to put you 4, 2, I try and split up, everyone gets it twice, is on a position twice. I'm trying to look back at your, what you sent me here. Because you did put you wanted to be on the that one the policy programs, fees, and charges is what you put. But I put you in with the budget.
I accept, no worries. And then we'll have reports back from those committees anyhow to discuss and vote on any. So
well, Larry will get together and get you all squared away.
Thanks for the clarification. I appreciate it.
Okay, 11, payment of the bills. Hey, the only thing, isn't that second one for 13,000 supposed to be for Cherry Blossom? Terry? So I just don't see
Which one are you talking about?
the payment of the bills, the
What-
second
what-
page. Usually it says Cherry Blossom. Or is it just me?
No, you're correct. It does not say cherry blossom.
Yes, I caught her on something.
Oh my gosh.
Not Alan, I did.
Yeah, I know.
Cherry Blossoms, page 3.
I don't have page 3.
It's the second page one.
No, it isn't.
Guess I'm not worthy enough. Oh, page 3. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't see where that said Cherry Blossom. So, okay. Yeah, I don't have anything on the payment of bills. Except Rachel membership fee to the bank. Alan?
Hi, Ellen.
So just to keep, oh, hi, Terry. So I just have something on cherry blossom. I don't know if this is a Terry question or a Scott question, but how come we have so many different things for SMUD that are the exact same address?
Every irrigation box, every irrigation timer, lights in the parks. We didn't set those, SMUD set those, Alan. It is very confusing. I think they've confused themselves, to be quite honest, because we just went through a whole thing with them on some past dues that we didn't even realize there were accounts for on our side. It's just, it's SMUD being SMUD. It's just every little bit of electricity that's running through the park and the landscaping out there has its own separate account.
Alan, those are all past due ones. And we paid
Oh, they're
1
just,
month.
oh, okay.
Yeah, we paid 1 month last year and never saw another bill after that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then I
Did we
got
get
it here in
charged?
December.
Did we get charged service charges on this or not?
No,
Okay,
no late fees because I said we never received a bill except one.
right, okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to ratify payment of the bills for both the district and for the community facilities district.
Second.
Okay, so any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Pass. All right, meeting adjourned. Next regular board meeting for board of directors will be February 11th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Hopefully in the community center, but we'll play it by ear. If not, we have Zoom.